So tonight's 5-minute view from the Cop is brought to you from the sofa where I've been watching in tonight's game. The match has just finished, they're just replaying the goals. So we needed a response after the last two games. We didn't really know what kind of team that would be going out. Would it be the same team as before? Give them a chance to prove themselves? Well, they decided to actually change the side. 11 changes from the last match. However, in true Sheffield Wednesday fashion, we went behind. Well, we had a lot of possession, but we didn't really do much with it. We didn't look like we had any impetus. We looked like we were just strolling it around, and we expected that we'd win through eventually, which we actually did. So the whinges out of the way, really. We just, in that first half, we really didn't look like we got much about us, and when they hit back at us, then they looked dangerous. They scored one and they could have had another one, but we rang one or two changes and seemed to have a little bit more urgency in the play. The changes made all the difference, and I think, players were coming back from injury, so I suppose you can excuse maybe a little bit. So Chabla was in the middle and didn't really do that much. I think it really showed when you got such as Bannon coming on, who I know recently people have been saying, has he got the legs? But he absolutely ran rings around the rest of the players on the pitch when he came on. I mean, Ugbo was from the beginning, and I noticed in the first half he was all over the pitch trying to get the ball. As soon as we started pushing properly and running at them, Kabachki, I've probably pronounced that wrong, but he was excellent down that side. I thought he got forward really well, and I think that Marvin Johnson also showed a bit of class, a bit of quality. It's something to think about. And then obviously the supply was getting into the middle, and Ugbo scored. Really nice to see Callum Patterson bag a couple, because he'd not scored for a year, and obviously he's a willing partner. And again, you could say, he's been getting a bit of stick recently, and they're suggesting that he should be off. But, well, he scored 2 tonight. Shows that he can still do it. Although, really, we should be hammering teams from League 2, I suppose you should say. But, we got that result, didn't we, eventually? And they were chipping in with goals all over the place. And I think, obviously, Lowe got one as well in there. And Valentin got one at the end, which he really deserved. Because, again, down that side, he just showed he can be a force to be reckoned with. And I wonder, if we'd got such as Masaba and Gassama on tonight, would we have just ripped them to pieces? You've got to have that strength in depth, haven't you, with the side? So we've shown tonight that we sort of have. But having said that, as I say, midfield, Fizir didn't really do much, didn't really show that much. He gave it a bit of a go, lost the ball a couple of times. But I think, once we started to bring the other players on, although Windass came on, didn't really do that much, didn't really have to do that much in this case. But we've shown that we can actually score goals again. Bit of a disappointment to concede one. Looked a bit nervy at times in the first half, but I think once we got going, there was only one winner, and so we're into the third round, which we'll find out a little bit later on who we're going to be playing. So it's a much happier 5 minutes view from the Cop tonight. We're all Wednesday, aren't we?